والهجرة الانتقال من بلد الشرك إلى بلد الإسلام. والهجرة فريضة على هذه الأمة من بلد الشرك إلى بلد الإسلام، وهي باقية إلى أن تقوم الساعة. والدليل قوله تعالى: إن الذين توفاهم الملائكة ظالمي أنفسهم قالوا فيم كنتم؟ قالوا كنا مستضعفين في الأرض. قالوا ألم تكن أرض الله واسعة فتهاجروا فيها فأولئك مأواهم جهنم وساءت مصيرا. إلا المستضعفين من الرجال والنساء والولدان لا يستطيعون حيلة ولا يهتدون سبيلا، فأولئك عسى الله أن يعفو عنهم، وكان الله عفوا غفورا.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to another video. Wanted to talk about some of the growing pains that we feel, that many people feel when they migrate. Some experience more pains than others. I remember speaking to a sister who had went to Egypt for the first time, and she said she remembers feeling depressed, and she didn't know what was wrong with her. Like, why am I feeling depressed? I got overseas, I'm here, I'm trying to study and things like that. And she said she spoke to other sisters who felt the same thing, and she realized that the reason why she was feeling depressed is because for the first time, maybe in her entire life, she sat down and she wasn't busy with her environment, a familiar environment. When we're in our own countries, we can be busy with our family members, work, just running. You know how we get busy. We're busy. Just like pre-pandemic, everyone was busy, problems stirring up, and no one's tending to it. It's about to boil over like a boiling pot. But the pandemic set everyone down and made them face things that they never had to face before. So it's similar when you're moving overseas. You're in a new environment, it's not familiar to you. You can't keep yourself occupied with things that you're used to doing or that you know. It's a new frontier, and you're going to get to know yourself in a way that you didn't have to before, which can be quite scary. Okay, so it got dark. Growing pains and depression that some people face are things that many people don't talk about. I remember I follow some of those channels of people who migrated, African Americans that migrated from the United States, and UK people, black UK people migrated to Ghana, Gambia, things like that. And they spoke about going through depression because they didn't know the language. They were excited about going, to the motherland. But once they got there, some things started to set in that they really weren't a part of the nationality. Culturally they couldn't they couldn't connect. The realization that you made this trip alone by yourself, and you don't have people who are like you that came along with you. Now, no doubt, those communities over there in Ghana, Gambia, I'm not sure about Nigeria, but I think Uganda, Gambia, and what's the other one? Ghana. You know, people are making their own communities. You know, because you need support as a human being. You need people to be with you to experience, you know, your migration with, to integrate into the society to a degree, learn new things that you need to learn in order to function and to feel normal, because that's a big jump to go from one country, one culture to another, and then you feel extremely uncomfortable. You don't feel comfortable in your skin at all. You feel out of place and nothing is familiar to you. That's, you know, people suffer from depression, especially women. I can't speak for the men. I don't know. I actually didn't hear the men say anything about that. One guy who went to Gambia, he did say he linked up. He was excited to get to know the Gambian people, but he linked up with Westerners just for conversation, you know, insightful conversation. He said it was difficult to find people that could converse with him on a higher intellectual level, you know, above basic, you know, just high by, oh yeah, where are you from, what food you like to eat, you know, basic conversation. He wanted something more, of course, which if you go to a society where people are simple, life is simple, not much is going on, the people, unless they have traveled or of course they are knowledgeable Islamically, they won't have much insight, you know, or much, they won't be much for conversation. So I couldn't even imagine that. That would be death for me. Not able to speak to somebody to stimulate my brain, you know. No, that would be a problem. So yeah, he linked up with the Westerners because they have things in common to share, commonalities and experience, you know, projecting the future, what they want to do there, plans. That's stimulating enough. So he found his tribe, that particular person. But like I said, there are many who they don't get that. It becomes lonely. And alhamdulillah, for me, I would say, a veteran at going overseas and actually have love for it. And alhamdulillah, I was able to learn Arabic so that I could communicate, I can get around, I can make friends. But majority of sisters that come overseas, they don't have that. So they're literally forced to either be alone if there's nobody in their vicinity, depending on where they went overseas. If they can't find another Westerner, then it gets lonely. It gets extremely lonely because people have feelings and emotions they would like to express. They would like to compare, you know, experiences. They have questions. You can't express anything. You're stuck. And that's quite frustrating. Alhamdulillah, I didn't go through that. When I was in Yemen, there was another family there, an American sister, and then there was a British sister that came. So I had people to talk to while I was trying to learn, you know, the Yemenis and deal with them and talk to them, increase my vocabulary and exercise, you know, my new sentences and things like that. But imagine if I wasn't able to express myself. That would have been difficult. So those are some things that you should probably be aware of lesser spoken about topic, the depression that one feels, or they experience loneliness, incompatibility with the environment that they're in. I would suggest that you learn, those people who may find themselves in a situation, educate yourself about emotional intelligence. Become emotionally intelligent. Learn your emotions and learn how to identify what you're experiencing, what you're feeling. Write a journal. Be honest. And don't let Shaitan trick you into running away to go back home because you just want to feel normal. I just want to feel familiar. I don't want to feel out of place. I don't want to feel, you got to be patient. You got to be patient. You got to remember why you left and be patient with your new life. And don't forget the dua. Remember, this is what used to help me also. Not as relates to being lonely and things like that. However, whenever I enter a new land, I remember the story of Ibrahim and Hijrah, alayhi salatu wasalam, and how he took her to Mecca and there was nothing there. And he made dua that Allah send people who will help them and aid them and be companions to them. So, and if you have Husnul Muslim, if you have the, Sunnah, dua of the Prophet ﷺ, then you'll find a different adiyah that you say when you enter a new land. You ask Allah to send you the tayyibin, good people that are going to aid you and assist you, and Allah will answer. So those are things to be aware of. It's no joke, and it can be a deterrent. Feeling lonely, not having support, and you don't want any avenue of shaitan to play with you, to want to leave. And you also have to know that you have to open up. You can't shield yourself off. You can't be afraid to connect with new people and new cultures, because the reality is that's the country you came to. It's not the West. So to close yourself off and wait for a Westerner to relate to, you're closing yourself off from a lot of good and an opportunity to grow and to expand your mind and to develop as a Muslim. Speaking of developing as a Muslim, the stage that we are in the West, for those who, if they weren't religious, they were born Muslim but weren't religious and then decided to become religious, or those who became a Muslim, they converted to Islam. The stage that you are at is of your Islam is the beginning stages that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum were at when they were in Mecca, warding off, fighting in a state of basically a kind of personal war, of fighting your previous beliefs, going against the grain, trying to hold on. That's the state that we're in the West. I like to say, trying to hold on and trying not to fall off. And that's not you can't remain in that state forever. That's not a way to practice the religion until you die. Unless, of course, the person is miskeen, they're weak. And then in that case, Allah will aid them and help them. But that's the state that we're in. And once you decide to make Hijrah, just like they made Hijrah when Allah commanded them to do so, then they were able to grow. They were actually able to grow and establish and expand. And you have an opportunity to do that, to learn things about yourself that you didn't know before, to develop and grow in your iman and your understanding of Islam based off of how the Muslims in a Muslim country show you things that are very difficult to practice in the West that you are now able to practice here. And what I mean by difficult to practice, I'll give you an example. I always say, and I've noticed that a lot of harm came to me and others who literally tried to show karam, generosity or good manners in the West, in the Muslim community. You get a lot of harm when you try to practice certain ahadith and implement ayat, things that we were ordered to do, right? That brings about good, brotherhood, closeness, the pleasure of Allah, things like that. In turn, what do you get? Extreme harm. Why you get extreme harm? Because, and like even non-Muslims understand this, who come from timid cultures like Asians, East Asians, like Taiwanese or Chinese people, or even Koreans. Their cultures are very timid and humble, but they realize, the children of the immigrants that come to the United States realize quickly that that timid stuff, it won't work, because they'll eat you alive. It's not respected. So likewise, as a Muslim who doesn't come from a background of being humble and being kind across the board, I don't come from that kind of background. And then when you become a Muslim and you really want to practice what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordered us to practice, and follow the example of the Messenger of Allah, you put it into practice, you get eaten alive, because America or the West are wolves and sheep. It's wolves and sheep. Okay? The West is harsh, and they deem humbleness and kindness to be weakness. So, unfortunately, the Muslims take on these same exact characteristics, and they take advantage of you and they harm you. Okay? They take advantage of you and harm you, and everyone knows it. I don't even have to give any proofs. It's as clear as the sun. It's clear as the sun, and it's prevalent, and it breaks people down. So that's what's going to happen to you when you're coming from those societies and you stay in them. You have to function according to the environment in order to survive. And naive people like myself, when of course I was naive because I was young doing that, I still didn't change myself. However, you become guarded, you protect yourself, you're not as open, because you see that people are not on the same page as you are as relates to the religion, practicing those parts of the religion, adab and akhlaq. They're not with you. Rather, they're waiting to eat you. They're waiting to devour you and take advantage of you. And that's just reality. So you have an opportunity in a Muslim country. MashaAllah, the Muslims don't do that to you. They respect a person who has good manners, and they will show you good manners in return, which some Westerners have an aversion to that. And if you bring sickness with you, you deem them to be weak, and you may even try to take advantage of them as well if you have that illness. But I felt safe. The only place I felt safe in practicing adab and akhlaq with the Muslims was overseas. That's where I experienced it. That's where it was received from me very well and reciprocated. In the West, never. Rather, people test your patience. And you know what they tell you? You know what you're told? Oh, subhanAllah, you have to mix with the people and bear their harm. The person who bears their harm is better than the one who doesn't. Harm is not reduced to being disrespected and almost trampled upon because you're trying to practice a religion. No, that's not that's not the extent of harm. Don't minimize harm to the most extreme, actually, form of harm. Don't minimize that. So what is an extreme? What is, if that's small harm, then what's big harm then? That we're supposed to be patient with and let the Muslims do to you? No, I don't think so. So I'm going on a little tangent here, but I think those who they know what I'm talking about and have experienced it, because there's too many sisters from different countries, different Western countries, that say, yeah, it's the same in my country, yeah, it's the same in my country. That means it's a Western behavior problem. We got issues. We got big issues. So this is an opportunity to grow and, you know, do what you need to do and go to the next stage and phase of your development in Islam, if that's what you want. If that's what you want. So that's it for tonight. And please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate you all listening in. Me ranting. I do that sometimes. Been through a lot. But I think you get my drift. And always remember, Hijrah mandates sacrifice. I'll see you in the next video, inshallah. Ma salama.